Panasonic GH6 versus Blackmagic Pocket CInema 4K camera. Now these two cameras are very different in many ways, but they are also similar in a huge way. They have a similar size sensor, and it's the Micro Four Thirds, as you probably know. Now you know, guys, that the Blackmagic Pocket CInema cameras, I have been using them quite a lot, and the GH6 is somewhat of, or it is a very new camera. However, I have been shooting a lot with the Panasonic GH5. So in this video we're going to compare them and see which is better for what and which camera you should probably think about going for. So let's talk about a few things about these two cameras. Before we go into it, I just wanted to say that I'm going to have a system where I compare these two cameras in so-called MMA rules. So in MMA, when you go to a round, they often give the fighters either a 10 or a 9, 8 or a 7. So if a fighter is very dominant, he might get a 10-8 win in that. So we're going to have that type of a measuring system. So for example, if we talk about autofocus, of course the Panasonic GH6 has autofocus and the Blackmagic Pocket 4K doesn't have autofocus. So there the GH6 will get the 10 and the Blackmagic Pocket will get a 9. From the beginning, there are a lot of features on these two cameras that differentiates them a lot. So one of them is going to be autofocus, so there's a win for the GH6. Another is going to be internal RAW or B-RAW. That we have on the Blackmagic Pocket CInema 4K. So there's a win for the cinema camera. When it comes to weatherproofness, of course the GH6 is going to win there, because the cinema camera, I mean, it's open and you can't use it in bad weather. Another thing that the cinema camera doesn't have that the GH6 has is Ibis. So there's a win for the Panasonic GH6. However, when it comes to Ibis, some people don't want to have Ibis because if you strap your camera onto like a vehicle or something, the Ibis will actually get micro jitters, and that might be a problem. So for some people, that's not actually a win. So there are, of course, other differences. When it comes to battery life, we know that the Blackmagic Pocket has very bad battery life, and here the GH6 will win, even though I think that the Panasonic GH6 has worse battery life than the GH5, and that's probably to do with the high codecs that it has. Another feature that's very important is of course going to be slow motion. Both of these cameras do, for example, 120. However, the Blackmagic Pocket CInema 4K camera crops in, and it only does this at 120 at full HD, whereas the GH6 has 120 at 4K and it uses the whole sensor. So that's a big win for the Panasonic GH6. One main reason why you would go with one camera or the other could be the price. We all know that the Blackmagic Pocket CInema 4K has probably been out for 3 years or so, and the GH6 is new, so you will get, or it's easier at least to get a bargain on the Pocket 4K. You can probably find it used. Also, if you buy it new, it's still gonna be much cheaper than the GH6. However, if you go for the pocket camera, you really have to realize that you can't only buy the camera, you will need a bunch of accessories with it, such as something for the power consumption, also an extra screen with it, whereas the GH6 comes in a almost ready package to just start shooting. So one of the main reasons here is of course going to be the difference in image quality. Now we do have Micro Four Thirds sensors on both of these. The Blackmagic sensor is a little bit wider than the GH6 sensor, and that's one of the reasons why it's not possible to have image stabilization on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. But when it comes to the image quality, we have a difference, but what's better is actually a thing for you to decide. Of course, we have Blackmagic RAW in the Pocket CInema 4K camera internally. However, we do have, or we will get, the ability to shoot ProRes RAW with the Ninja 5 very soon. So you will be able to shoot RAW with both of these cameras, and also on the GH6 you have the ability to shoot at 5.7K in ProRes, which also is very nice. I would also say that because the Blackmagic Pocket CInema 4K camera also shoots in ProRes. However, I'm not a fan of the ProRes image that comes out from the Blackmagic camera. So if you want the optimum image quality, on the Blackmagic Cinema 4K, I would always shoot in Blackmagic RAW. So another thing that's very important when you're shooting video, of course, is gonna be audio. Now, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K has great audio abilities. However, with the XLR1 on the GH6, you have the ability to shoot 4-channel audio, and that's actually a great feature that not many cameras have. So even in audio, we have a winner here with the Panasonic GH6. So when it comes to usability of the camera and the interface that these cameras have, we have a clear winner because Blackmagic, according to me at least, has the best user interface when it comes to video. I'm also a fan of the user interface that Panasonic makes, but when it comes to video, the edge goes to the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. However, if you compare the Panasonic GH6 to something like the A7S III that we're shooting this on, the Panasonic GH6 still wins. But when compared these two bastards, when we compare these two bastards, the clear winner is going to be Blackmagic.
Could you explain to me why this would be a better option for the studio?
Well, the Blackmagic Cinema 4K camera really has a cinematic look. It's not maybe the sharpest image, but a lot of the time you're not looking for the sharpest image coming from a camera. You're probably looking at the most cinematic image. So for those who really are looking at the cinematic image, this could be a better option. Also in the studio, a lot of the shortcomings to the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera, like the pretty bad battery life, like the weather condition, like the weather sealing, those things doesn't matter as much in the studio. So in the studio you might already be using an external monitor that you would hook up to both these cameras, so that's probably not a problem for you.
You'd say the biggest thing then using this one in the studio, or the biggest benefit, would be the image quality.
Yeah.
Or the fact you can shoot camera RAW.
Exactly. The biggest thing there would be the Blackmagic RAW codec, and also if you like the image quality depending on the GH6.
Yeah.
So the image quality, I would say, is probably a tie here, because a lot depends on what you like and what you don't like, and also if you're editing in Final Cut or in DaVinci, that could also be one of the differences between these two cameras.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this one here, when you're out, all types of weather, all types of situations, whether you're alone or you're filming, somebody's filming you, this is the go-to camera with the Ibis, the flippy screen, the image quality.
Yeah,
what else?
I mean, if you're alone, it's actually not a brainer. If you're looking to have a YouTube camera where you're going to shoot yourself, the GH6 is going to be the choice for you. Also with the much improved autofocus, you know that we've used it quite a lot during these 2 weeks. That's going to be a no-brainer. But if you're shooting other people and you like manual lenses, the Blackmagic Pocket 4K could be your choice.
Yeah.
So for instance, one of the differences that we talk about is the ability to use it once we were outside. And 2 hours ago when we went out, we had like a really overcast day, and I was like, don't bring an extra monitor. 2 hours later, right now, it's actually so sunny that I can't see anything on the screen. So right now the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K is actually unusable because we can't see anything on it, and yeah, that's too bad. But too bad on me to not bring it. Yeah, it's on. Too bad from me to not bringing the extra monitor.
It's impossible to see.
Yeah, it's impossible.
I mean,
but that's my fault. If I knew that it's gonna be this type of weather, I would have brought a monitor with me. So of course there will be a lot of features here where the different cameras are very different. So you can see here on my list where the different cameras are better than the other. So looking at a few of the different features that these cameras actually have, we're looking at autofocus, Ibis. These are things that the only Panasonic GH6 has, so there's a clear win. Internal RAW, the better user interface, is a win for the Pocket 4K camera. Battery life goes to GH6. Price goes of course to the Pocket 4K, and weather sealing goes to the Panasonic GH6. When it comes to monitors and EVFs, Panasonic GH6 wins here. Slow motion, better slow motion options on the Panasonic GH6. Also for audio, we have a winner at Panasonic GH6. For photography, still the GH6. When it comes to streaming, I feel that the Pocket 4K has the edge here, because if you connect it to an ATEM Mini Pro, you can basically do whatever you want to with that camera. You can also stream from the Panasonic GH6 via USB, and it will turn out to be like a webcam. When it comes to usability, I feel that usability is better on the Panasonic GH6 because you can basically take up the camera and use it straight out of the box. Image quality is a tie because it all depends on your preferences. Do you like a really sharp image? Go with the Panasonic GH6. If you like the more cinematic image, you go with the Pocket 4K. When it comes to RAW, both these cameras do RAW, even if they do it in a different way. I would put the dynamic range, go to the GH6 because of the dynamic range boost. It's actually a killer feature. Sharpness, the GH6 does 5.7K, however not everybody wants that sharpness, so that's a tie. Color, I really like the Blackmagic Pocket 4K colors. I do also like the GH6 colors, but I think I'm gonna give it to the Blackmagic camera. Low light, the GH6 is actually a newer sensor and it's better in low light in my opinion. Sensor size, the sensor is a little bit larger, which means you get a different field of view on the Pocket 4K. And also there are some other features that a lot of video cameras have, and those are features like peaking, shutter angle, punch-in monitoring while shooting. These are things that both these cameras have that a lot of other cameras don't have. You also have the ability to record to an SSD on both of these cameras, and that's also a killer feature. If you're doing long content or you're in a studio environment, that's a great feature. And in the end, the Panasonic GH6 will have most points, but stick around because there's a big caveat, as there always is in MMA. If you just look at the numbers, of course you will have a clear winner here. The Panasonic GH6 is gonna be your clear winner when it comes to the points. However, and this is a big however, it all depends on what's important for you. And the same thing as in MMA, one of these features might be the knockout feature for you, and for a lot of people the knockout feature will probably be the price. Another might be the Blackmagic RAW because you are editing in DaVinci Resolve. So depending on who you are and what you think about this camera, the knockout feature and also the winner of this contest might be either of this camera. So if you really depend on Ibis, the knockout feature for you might be the great Ibis that is on the GH6. If streaming is very important to you and you want to hook up your cameras to something like the ATEM Mini Pro or ATEM Mini ISO, maybe the Blackmagic Pocket CInema 4K camera is for you. So the winner of this is actually up to you guys, which is the knockout feature for you. So it might be the price, it might be the weather sealing on the GH6 because you might be one of those shooters that's out in the rain and out in the outdoors all the time. It also might be that you're not only a videographer, you might be a photographer as well. And when it comes to photos, I mean, we don't even have to talk about, you can take photos with the Blackmagic Pocket CInema 4K, but this is also a dedicated photo camera. So depending on your budget, your style of shooting, whatever you want, or maybe you just are looking for that cinematic look, then probably the winner will be the Pocket CInema 4K camera. So you decide which camera is best for you and which is the knockout feature. So guys, I'm very interested to know your thoughts about this battle between these two cameras. Of course, it's much closer now because we are able, or we will be able to shoot RAW on the Panasonic GH6. I would love to know in the comments, ask me the questions, feel free to subscribe, and if you wonder anything else, add me on Instagram. I might answer your questions there, I don't know. See you very soon, and bye bye.